Success is rarely destroyed by the world outside. Most of the time, the things that defeat us do not come from other people, nor from circumstances, nor from lack of opportunity. They arise quietly from within. Subtle habits of thought, quiet tendencies of emotion, and invisible patterns of behavior. They begin small, unnoticed, and unchallenged. And because they are silent, we rarely defend ourselves from them. A person may work hard, dream boldly, plan wisely, and still fail, not because life was unfair, but because certain inner habits slowly eroded the foundation of their character. The Roman Stoics called these internal enemies diseases of the soul, conditions that weaken a person's discipline, integrity, and clarity of judgment. Today, we might call them silent killers of success. If you wish to rise, to endure, to build, and to grow, then you must learn to see these enemies within yourself. You must learn to stand guard over your mind, as a soldier guards a fortress. You must become the watcher of your own thoughts, the observer of your impulses, and the ruler of your emotions. These 7 silent killers have defeated countless people long before they ever reach the battlefield of real challenges. Those who fail often fail privately before they fail publicly. Those who fall usually fall internally before the world sees the collapse. Let us look carefully at each one, with calmness, honesty, and discipline. For the mind that sees itself clearly gains mastery over itself, and the person who masters their inner world becomes unconquerable in the outer world. 1. Indifference. The decay of purpose. Indifference is the first silent killer of success. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself. It slips quietly into the spirit like a slow fog, covering the fire that once burned brightly. Indifference does not shout. It whispers. It says, "It does not matter. Not today. Later. Why bother?" It is the shrug of the soul. Indifference is the death of purpose. It is the slow erosion of one's inner flame. A person who becomes indifferent stops caring about improvement, stops caring about growth, stops caring about the cultivation of their talents. And once the heart ceases to care, strength begins to wither. Stoicism teaches that excellence requires intention. Nothing great is ever achieved by drifting. You cannot drift to the top of a mountain. You cannot coast into mastery. Life demands conscious action, daily discipline, and deliberate effort. The indifferent person drifts like a leaf in the wind, moving without aim, responding only to pressure or convenience. Indifference also creates the illusion that effort is optional, but nothing valuable in life is built without effort. Not wisdom, not character, not success, not peace. To be indifferent is to deny the very nature of progress. The cure for indifference is the practice of presence. A Stoic returns to the moment and asks, "What is the task before me, and how can I honor it fully?" Do not wait for motivation. Do not wait for excitement. Begin with duty. Begin with intentional action. Begin with one small step done with your full attention. Once the mind engages, the heart follows. Indifference melts when effort begins. To defeat indifference, pour yourself into whatever is before you. When you give fully, life reveals the next step. 2. Indecision. The prison of hesitation. The second silent killer is indecision. It is the habit of standing in the doorway of life, but never entering. It is the paralysis of possibility, the inability to choose a direction, commit, and walk forward. A person trapped in indecision lives in constant hesitation. They wait for perfect clarity. They wait for total certainty. They wait for a guarantee that does not exist. Stoicism reminds us that no decision in life is ever free of risk, and no action is ever guaranteed to succeed. Hesitation changes nothing. Action changes everything. Indecision is dangerous because it creates a life without momentum. The individual begins to see themselves as a spectator rather than a participant. They fear choosing the wrong path so intensely that they choose no path at all. But the failure to choose is itself a choice, and usually the worst one. Indecision also weakens confidence. Each avoided decision makes the mind more timid. Each delayed choice becomes a reinforcement of the belief that we are not capable of choosing wisely. Over time, a person becomes a prisoner of their own doubts. The Stoic remedy for indecision is to embrace the understanding that mistakes are not final. They are teachers. Progress requires motion. Even the wrong road teaches you something the right road never could. A life without decisions is a life without development. A person must say to themselves, "This is my judgment, this is my direction, and if it proves incorrect, I will learn and adjust." Clarity is not found by waiting, it is found by walking. 3. Doubt. The erosion of self-belief. The third silent killer of success is doubt, especially self-doubt. Doubt is a thief. It steals potential before potential has a chance to grow. It convinces a person that they are small, incapable, unworthy, or unprepared. Doubt does not care whether you are skilled or unskilled. It simply insists you are insufficient. Self-doubt blinds you to your own strength. It makes you underestimate your ability to adapt, to grow, to rise to challenges. A person full of self-doubt sees obstacles as confirmation of their weakness. A person trained in Stoic resilience sees obstacles as invitations to strengthen their character. The Stoics taught that self-belief is not arrogance. It is the recognition of your capacity as a human being, the capacity to learn, to endure, to think, to improve. Every person is more capable than they believe, but doubt places a ceiling on possibility. It discourages action, and without action, potential remains dormant. Doubt also feeds on comparison. When you measure yourself against others, you will always find someone ahead of you, someone more skilled, someone with more experience. But another person's advantage does not define your limits. Stoicism teaches you to focus on your own path, your own duty, and your own effort. The cure for doubt is disciplined affirmation through action. You do not overcome doubt by thinking alone. You overcome it by proving to yourself, repeatedly, that you can do what you feared you could not do. Each small victory builds a foundation of inner confidence. A Stoic tells themselves, "I may not be perfect, but I am capable. I may not know everything, but I can learn. I may not have certainty, but I have courage." Self-belief is earned through consistent daily effort, not fantasy. 4. Worry, the disturbance of the mind. Worry is the fourth silent killer, and perhaps one of the most destructive. Worry is the misuse of imagination. It is the projection of fear into the future, the constant rehearsal of potential misfortune. Worry weighs down the mind, drains energy, and destroys peace. The Stoics remind us that worry does not protect us from tomorrow. It only robs us of today. The mind that worries suffers more in imagination than in reality. Most of the things we worry about never occur, and when difficulties do arise, we often handle them with far more strength than we predicted. Worry is an attempt to control things that are not in our control. The reactions of others, the outcomes of events, the unfolding of fate. But anxiety grows whenever we try to control the uncontrollable. To worry less, you must first separate what is yours from what is not. The Stoic asks, "Is this within my control? If it is, act with intention. Is this outside my control? If it is, let it go." Worry disappears when responsibility is properly defined. But giving up worry is not easy. It requires training. It requires catching the mind in the moment of fear and redirecting it toward clarity. It requires reminding yourself, "This thought does not serve me." A Stoic practices the discipline of releasing what burdens the spirit. Freedom from worry is not freedom from hardship. It is freedom from unnecessary suffering. 5. Overcaution, the fear of risk. The fifth silent killer of success is overcaution, the excessive need for safety, certainty, and assurance. Overcautious people live behind walls they have built themselves. They fear failure so deeply that they avoid opportunity. They fear loss so much that they never attempt gain. They avoid risk until life becomes a small, narrow circle. But Stoicism reminds us that life itself is risk. Every breath, every choice, every relationship, every journey, all contain uncertainty. To avoid risk is to avoid life. The person who demands absolute safety must accept a life of limitation. Overcaution pretends to be wisdom, but it is often fear in disguise. It is the belief that you must never fail, never fall, never look foolish, never make a mistake. But the Stoics embraced failure as a natural part of the human experience. They understood that every action contains risk and that the refusal to act guarantees stagnation. The cure for overcaution is the understanding that the pain of inaction is far worse than the pain of failure. A Stoic tells themselves, "I will not let fear decide my future. I will meet risk with courage, and I will grow from whatever follows." It is better to live boldly, to attempt, to learn, to rise, than to hide behind imagined dangers. A cautious life may be long, but it is rarely fulfilling. 6. Pessimism, the habit of negative perception. The sixth silent killer is pessimism, the tendency to view life through a lens of negativity, fault-finding, and fear. A pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. They focus on what is wrong rather than what is possible. They interpret setbacks as proof that success is unattainable. Pessimism is not realism. Realism acknowledges obstacles, but also recognizes potential. Pessimism assumes defeat before the battle has even begun. The Stoics taught that the quality of our lives is shaped by the quality of our thoughts. If the mind is trained to search for danger, danger is all it sees. If the mind is trained to look for possibilities, solutions reveal themselves. A pessimist believes that the worst is inevitable. A Stoic prepares for adversity while never surrendering to despair. A Stoic acknowledges difficulty but remains committed to action. Pessimism weakens a person because it steals initiative. It convinces the mind that effort is pointless. The cure for pessimism is disciplined perception, the skill of directing your attention toward what you can influence, what you can build, what you can improve. It is the conscious practice of asking, "What can I do? What is within my power?" Train your mind to see reality clearly, neither inflated with fantasy nor darkened by fear. Life becomes brighter when the mind becomes sharper. 7. Complaining, the poison of the spirit. The final silent killer is complaining. Complaining is the verbal expression of powerlessness. It is the habit of assigning blame outwardly instead of taking responsibility inwardly. Complaining turns problems into prisons and delays all progress. A person who complains strengthens their own helplessness. Instead of correcting a situation, they criticize it. Instead of improving conditions, they resent them. Complaining replaces action with emotion and growth with stagnation. Stoicism teaches radical responsibility, the understanding that your thoughts, your actions, and your interpretations belong to you alone. You cannot control life, but you can control your response. Complaining is a refusal to respond with strength. Every moment spent complaining is a moment stolen from improvement. Every complaint is a reinforcement of weakness. A person who complains trains their mind to see themselves as a victim rather than an agent. The cure for complaining is gratitude and responsibility. A Stoic asks, "What can I do right now to change this?" And, "What can I learn from this?" To complain is to surrender your power. To take responsibility is to reclaim it. Guarding the mind, the Stoic's final duty. All 7 of these silent killers share one thing in common. They arise from within the mind. They begin as thoughts, become tendencies, grow into habits, and eventually form a personality. But the Stoics taught that the mind can be trained, habits can be broken, and character can be strengthened through daily discipline. Your thoughts are the seeds of your future. Guard them carefully. Observe them patiently. Question them bravely. Do not allow indifference, indecision, doubt, worry, overcaution, pessimism, or complaining to settle into your spirit. Do not let them shape the course of your life. Success begins within. Strength begins within. Peace begins within. And so does failure. The inner war is the greatest war you will ever fight, and the victory is worth everything. Because once you conquer yourself, you become unconquerable. Hold fast to discipline, hold fast to clarity, hold fast to purpose, and walk forward with the calm courage of one who rules their own mind.